What is it really like to be a young business owner? Is it possible to lead a professional life based on your faith? In this portion of our conversation, Michael answers these questions and more. So stay tuned to find out what makes somebody worth hiring or firing.
I'm going to touch on the faith because you have, brought that up. And one of the students actually, they were able to pick up on that as well. So they had actually asked, how does your faith mold your perspective of business excellence? And you've touched on it
Ooh,
already some, but I thought that it was a great question. So I wanted to give that student props by asking it directly,
yeah.
exactly as how they asked it. So I'll restate it. How does your faith mold your perspective of business excellence?
Ooh, it's a great question, and it 100% molds all of it. For me, at the core, it comes back to at at the end of the day, when I'm gonna answer for everything that I on this earth that I've had a piece of touching and being a part of. I really want God to look back down on me and say, like, well done, Michael. Like, you took everything that I handed you, everything that I blessed you with, everything that you had in your hand, and you stewarded it really well, and you did the best that you absolutely could with it. And I think that's the best. That's the driving motive for me, personally, not only in professional but in personal, as a husband, as a future father, as an employer, as a boss, as a friend, as a teammate. Like, I just want to do the best that I can. And I think that the definition of excellence to me is doing the best that you can with what you have. Excellence is not perfection. It is not it is not being the most perfect thing, but it's doing the best that you can with what you are given. So what's in your hand? Like, what can you do with what you have? And I think that there's always a way to make it the best that you can to your knowledge. And I think that's what clients deserve. And so for me, part of my the like the faith in terms of faith and belief and hope has played a huge part in me building my business, because I literally some there are days where I'm like having to operate on faith, where I'm like, so that first year, going back, I'll get on that point of, like, going back to that first year of 2021, where I'm like full on Black Fox. That rockiness at the beginning, we came back through some, it was all good. And then come that summer, I actually had to go about 5, almost 6 months of not paying myself, because we had some more client transition and I had full-time employees. And um which I learned, looking back, I probably shouldn't have hired so quick, but that's okay. You learn, you live and you learn. But I had to go through that time where, like, I'm paying people to work, and I can't pay myself. And that was hard. That was a faith journey for myself. Like, many sleepless nights, many scared. I was scared, but I had hope, and I knew that, okay, God's brought me this far, and if this is in His plan, if this is His will, it will continue no matter what Michael does. I'm an achiever by nature, Enneagram 3 through and through. So, like, I constantly am thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I? And I've had to really release that and say, okay, I'm going to do everything I can do with what He's given me to the best of my ability, so that He gives me more. But until then, I just have to work with what I got and just make it the best that I can be. And I truly believe that in my line of work, clients deserve the best. If they are paying for it, they deserve the best. Now, they pay a premium for it. Like, I'll be straight. Like, I ain't a Motel 6. Okay, we are the Ritz Carlton, and you're gonna pay the Ritz Carlton price for it. But when they do pay that, there's a level of expectation that they deserve, and they deserve the follow through. They deserve the hard work. They deserve the strategy. They deserve it all. You don't deserve the paycheck. You earn the paycheck. So, point blank, like, a client paying you doesn't mean, like, there's a lot of hustle culture going on. I'm just gonna hit on this for 2 seconds. Like, I'm about to go on the tangent. But, like, all this stuff you see on TikTok about, like, you deserve to get paid more. It's like, you don't deserve anything. Like, you don't deserve to be paid more. You earn and work what you're worth. So, like, as a child of God, you are worth everything. Okay, period. But when it comes to actual work and professional life, like, you have to work to get paid, period. You don't work, you don't get paid, and no one owes you a single dime. So you just got to work. I'm owed thousands, tens of thousands of dollars right now, still, from that 6 months of working where I almost didn't get paid for any of it. And you just have to buck up, move on, and work harder to get what you have in your heart, the dreams and desires in your heart, to come to fruition. So That was a little extra. I know you didn't ask for that, but
That's what we're here for. We're here for all of the extra that I knew Michael would be capable of
yes.
delivering.
Welcome to Moments with Michael. We're about to go hard here, people.
Oh, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, so with that, then, I want to ask. So there are a couple of things in there. Um, has your so a lot of your clientele is still faith-based,
Yes. Yep.
and is that a strategic niche decision that you're choosing? This is the or niche that I'm going to operate within. Or has that just happened because some of your previous experience? Kind of talk to us about
Yeah.
the decisions that you make as to what types of clients Black Fox is going to go after, or if there's a type of client that maybe wouldn't be very well served by Black Fox.
Yeah. 100%. Um, so it started off phase one, I'll take whoever I can get. Like you got money, let's go. Like, oh, we'll figure it out. But it really was kind of it started through that was just networking and connections of people who had already worked with me. So it was former clients, people who I knew, like the Life Church was one of my clients and I worked there for a period of time. So it was a lot more just like that was the world I was ingrained in and knew and had a lot of connections through. um Over time that has shifted and it's been cool because actually like hot off the press we're kind of within the last 6 months we've really dialed into figuring out like our who we are, our mission, our purpose, our vision, like what are we trying to do. And our true purpose is to really partner with leaders to design solutions that generate change for good. So, that might seem a little vague because at first it was like I was kind of hard. I was like, let's just go church niche and like let's just total faith-based organizations. That's just kind of what we're doing. And that's really where a lot of our clientele are coming from. However, we learned like budget is a big constraint for faith, especially for nonprofit sector. Like it can be a big issue, and we are not the cheapest solution on the market. So we had to kind of realign and be like, okay, well, who are we? What are we trying to do? And honestly, it did come down to that. Like we want to work with people who are on a mission to generate some sort of change for good in the world, whether that be maybe it's a nonprofit, maybe it's a secular company, maybe it's like a for-profit business that's just trying, like Hilton as a hotel company, like part of their mission is to just create an incredible experience. Disney, like their whole thing is to be the happiest place in the world, right? So like I think for us it's more of looking at it, and we've got like one of our contracts right now we just signed with DHL Logistics for a lot of video work within their warehouse. So their mission is like excellence simply delivered. That is moving the things forward, right? So it was at first, it started off as like kind of that church niche because that's just who we were and that's how we had a lot of networking and connections with, and in that faith-based market. But now it is transitioning to we're really trying to partner with people anybody who has just any sort of mission to create good in the world.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, I also want to talk about, that stressful moment. One of the students asked, and I loved this question.
Yeah.
Is being the CEO of a company as stressful and time consuming as it's made out to be? And about how much time do you spend working on your business each day? So, I mean, you've already touched on there was a period you didn't pay yourself, you prioritized paying other people, and it was scary. So, to the students who were like, I know, because I know you did as well whenever you were a student. I mean, you look at the top of the organizational chart and you're like, wow, being CEO. I mean, wow,
Yeah.
that is it. All of the privilege that must come with being CEO. Talk about it a little bit more realistically.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who wants to talk, let's go to coffee and I'll just lay it out for you. It is very stressful and it is a lot of weight to carry. It is not something for the faint of heart by any means. And that's okay. Like I think that's something that people, and especially the generations coming up, need to hear is like you don't have to be the CEO. Like that was I glorified that position for so long and was like, that's what I want to do. And of course I'm doing it and I love it, but it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight to bear when you have to face like laying people off or firing people because they're not working or maybe they're not performing as well. It's a lot of work to run your own books. Like it's a lot of work to run payroll and figure out state taxes. And it's like it's annoying. It's really it's so and like for reference for me and I may not be the best job at this, but like I still work in client work. I'm not just working on the business all day. Like I still one of our biggest clients I'm involved in. Basically, I'm their remote marketing director for their full organization, which is massive. And so it's like I'm still in like day to day, probably working on their business more than my own. So it's still a lot of work. And then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, finally, it's 5 o'clock. They're clocked out. Now I gotta still clock in on my business. And so there's been some, I think social media has somewhat glorified a little bit of like the own your own business
Boss
vibe,
culture.
boss culture. Yeah. And like it's annoying to deal with people's pettiness. Honestly, like don't get me wrong, Michael can be petty. Okay. Like I don't brew the tea, but I definitely might stir it a little. I might sip it a little bit, but when you're dealing with people who are like, I just don't feel good today. I can't work. And you're like, bills still got to be paid. Like you don't work, So yeah, there's a lot of things I didn't know about going into it that I look back on like, total transparency, there are days you're like, is it worth it? Is it worth the stress? Is it worth the frustration? Is it worth the 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 pettiness? Is it worth dealing with people? And you have to be okay with it. You have to be able to say like, yeah, it's worth it. I'm going to do it. Or you have to step back and say like, I'm not in it for that. So it's stressful and it's hard. And like what we talked about, when you face those moments of like, do I pay myself or do I pay my employees? Like that moment will show a lot. Like if I just asked that and you said, well, I pay myself, you probably should not be a CEO, point blank, or at least not have a team, because that's a hard decision you think you might make well in the moment and be like, yeah, I would pay that. But when you're trying to feed your family and feed other families, like it's just a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of worrying. Now the payoff, there is some great things to being CEO. And for me, there is a great payoff of like, I know my level of integrity is higher than anyone that I know. Like it is, I will always make the best decision that I know possible with the information that I'm given and make it well and right. And I just don't want at this season of life want to trust that to somebody else. And so I know that at the end of the day, like I'm gonna do what's right, and I can't trust someone else to maybe make that same decision. So that payoff and being able to like even craft and build something yourself, make the call, make the, it's cool to make the calls, cool to make the decisions until they come back on you. And then you're like,
Right.
now I
There's
have to
that
deal with
pesky
it.
little
Yeah.
consequence thing that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. That can bite you in the butt real fast. Um, but you just have to weigh the pros and cons. Like, are you ready for it? Or are you not? And as you grow, things outsource. So like, I won't be doing our books all the time. Taxes are terrible to deal with. I have to deal with our accountant all the time. I'm like, oh, can I just not have to do that? But as we scale, obviously some of those things will come off and as we grow. But I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah. If you had to put a number on it, on average, about how many hours a week do you think that you work?
Oh, it's around 85 to 90 hours a week. And side note, I'm saying this to this group in kind of a confidence area, not and know my heart. This is not what I'm about to say is not in a like, oh, what was look at me. It's more just giving context to my team. I am the lowest paid person on our team by about $10,000 a year in salary. I believe in my team and I believe wholeheartedly that they should be paid what they're worth and that they should work really hard for what they earn. And for me, it's just like at this season of the business, I've had to take cuts and I've had to like pull back and I've had to like not take for myself because I believe in investing in the business and seeing where it can go. So I work the most out of anyone on my team by like a huge amount. and I don't expect my team to be working 90 hours a week. But I'm working the most in hopes that this builds into something bigger so that I can maybe work at least one day, um, while also paying myself the least. So yeah, I'm it's a lot. It's your sales, your marketing, you're also the janitor, you're also the social media guy, you're also the project manager, you're also the email, you're everything,
Yeah. Whew. So there were some questions, and I like these, and you already kind of touched on them. The pettiness. You're the HR department.
Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah,
HR is
that's
everybody's
fun.
favorite. So we're going to ask both sides of it.
Yep.
What are you looking for whenever you're wanting to hire somebody? Especially like you're in this position, and you just said it's like you're going to be hiring somebody that you're going to be paying more than you're paying yourself. What are you looking for that makes them worth that you're
Mm,
willing? And I'm so glad for people to hear this, because this is really, really important. I've been having a couple of HR type discussions this week with some professional relationships that are not going very well, trying to salvage that, right? There is an
yeah.
expectation whenever you're paying somebody, especially whenever you're making sacrifices to make that paycheck happen for that person.
Hmm.
What do you expect out of them? What is it that you're looking for you to be willing to hire somebody?
Yeah. I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna say something real quick before I enter that, because I also want to hit on, like, just I kind of said this earlier, but I really want everyone to recognize this too. I came from nothing. I came from student debt to go to college. I came from credit card. I came from all of that. Like, everything I'm doing is bootstrapped for Black Fox. So I want that perspective to be there of like, oh, he's got daddy's money to rely on, or I'm a and that's great. If you have that advantage, that use it 1000%. Totally. I'm not coming up. Use it to your advantage, but I don't. So just so you know, like, the safety net's not there for me. There is no like, oh, I'm gonna pay myself less because, oh, we make all this other money elsewhere. Like,
That is
there's none of
super
that.
important. I'm really glad that you brought that up, because yeah, like you said, you didn't get college for free. There was debt. There is no safety net. Yeah, you have absolutely, it's you. It's you and
Yeah.
just you and what you've earned and the discipline with which you've managed what you've earned.
Yes. Yes. So that kind of segues into this conversation, like into the answer to this question, because what I look for are those similar qualities. Like, if I didn't pay you today, would you still help me figure out a way to make this work? Would you, like, not that I would ever do that to somebody, but it's I don't want to use the word hustle because it's just so, like, misconstrued in today's world. But great example, I just hired a guy who has come in, and before I hired him, he reached out to me. I ignored him. He reached out to me again. I was busy and ignored him again. Finally, he reached out again, and I was like, okay, this kid's persistent. Like, I'm cool with, like, I like this. Like, let's talk. We talk. The connection, that's a big one. The synergy, the chemistry that is happening on a call in between, like, some of that's natural. You can't fake that. So, like, for me, it's like, okay, is this a genuine person? Do they align with my goals, my values, my, like, how I can see things? And then he sent over his portfolio after, and but in his portfolio, he was like, by the way, I took a look at everything that we're doing as Black Fox, and, like, here's my suggestions. Da, 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 da. And it's small things, but everything in his verbiage, he said, we could be doing this better. We could be doing this kind of level of service. We could be doing that. It wasn't you. It wasn't you suck. You should do better. It was we. So before I even paid him a dime, and actually kind of treated him terribly because I ignored him for several moments, he still was like, he had a we mentality and not a you mentality. And I think that's the key thing that I look for in someone that I'm going to bring onto the team is, is it about you? If your first question is, well, how much is the role? Like, yes, that's important. Okay, I'm not like, yeah, you got to know how much you get paid. But when that's the first thing on your mind, it's like, I just don't think a startup is a good space for you, because we're in our third year. We're still young. We're not, and I don't want anyone. I actually just had this conversation with an employee the other day. I never want our team to lose the edge or the sharpness of, like, we're one client away from falling apart. because there's just an edge that comes with that. Like we gotta hustle, we gotta get people in, we gotta get more clients, we gotta get more leads, we gotta keep our clients happy. It is cheaper to keep a client than it is to get a new client. So client service will always be the focus. How can we over deliver? How can we surprise and delight our clients? How can we consistently deliver more to them? And it takes someone having that mentality and that heart to say, like, it's not about me, it's about it's about the mission and the culture of the business, and how can we move this forward together. So I think it's hard to quantify or necessarily put a metric to, because I can't say, well, like, heart is 7 out of 10, no, 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 but it's like how they're approaching the selflessness factor. Like, are you willing to work, are you willing to work hard, and are you willing to put ideas out there for us to grow as a team?
Yeah. I call it ownership, right?
Yeah, that's a
So
great way of putting it.
it's like, how much are you willing? Like, you're not just doing this because I've asked you to, but you really care. You feel like your reputation is on the line. You feel like you're putting your best measure of excellence into this. You care
Yeah,
about how people talk about this on the back end of it, like, so that ownership is such a key piece
yeah,
in terms
yep.
of, are you willing, like you said, that it isn't like, well, what are you going to do about this? It's like, no,
What
you
do
got to
we
take some
Yeah.
ownership over this. Yeah.
One of my employees who I hired about a year ago now, coming up on a year, she actually, and every one of my employees is like this, and this has been a big thing, is like they wanted to work for Black Fox. They like came to me looking for a job, like, and one of my main, she's our main account executive. She's incredible. She actually took a pay cut to come work with us because she just believed in the mission and she wanted to be a part of it so bad that I didn't have to convince, like, I didn't have, there was no negotiation. It was just immediate, like, I'll take it. And it was I think it was about a $15,000 pay cut for her,
Oh,
um, to come be a part of what we were of what we're doing. So like ownership is huge. Extreme, the book Extreme Ownership. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic. That's what I look
oh,
for.
yeah. So, I also want to point out for that additional context that you have mentioned, because I don't think this has actually come up. It's important for the students to know that you moved from kind of a low cost Memphis in the process of this
Oh,
to high cost SoCal. So you're now in Southern California, and there's a drastic cost of living difference, and your team is dispersed geographically.
yep.
And so despite that, like, it would be so easy for you to justify, oh, well, now I'm living in, Southern California where rents are this and lattes are this,
Yeah.
instead of Memphis prices that you're used to. You didn't let that personal choice that you made impact what you thought was right for your employees. So I just kind of wanted to point that out as well.
No, that's 100% correct. Like, it was for perspective, our rent here is about triple what a mortgage for a house was, our house in Memphis at the time. So like, it was, yeah, it was a big jump, but it's not like at the end of the day, like, my personal choices can't be what impacts my team negatively. It's gotta still be, but yeah, everyone's remote too. And so that plays a lot of roles in having multiple levels of, even down to payroll items. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the flip side of it then, what is like kind of a non-negotiable fireable offense? What will get somebody fired
Oh,
faster than
oh,
faster than you can send the teams meeting?
oh, oh. Um, Lying. Number one, don't lie to me. I don't care if you made the biggest mistake in the world. Own it. Come to me with humility on it, but don't lie to me about it. Um, I know my stuff, and I'm not an idiot. So like, we're a small team. There's about 7 of us total on the team now, and blessed for that. But like, every single one of my team members is just so full of integrity and honesty. And that's just, and part of it's, I'm working through it in therapy with some triggering factors from the previous job that I was at. But but it's just there is never, ever, ever a good enough reason to lie. And I'm talking about like not, surprising your girlfriend for Valentine's. Okay, whatever. Like,
Right,
but you know what
right.
I mean? When it
Real
comes
life.
to integrity, a real issue, like there, I go back to my Sullivan days and I was working on a massive retail client in the southeastern area region, massive retail client. And an email, they had this program that many retail companies do it, but it's a re-engagement campaign where they send out an email and they say, hey, here's free $10 to use in store, and it's to re-engage customers who haven't maybe bought anything or shopped with them in 6 months, a year, whatever. And we had this campaign that went out once a month. It was supposed to go out to like 10,000 people. They send out $10. Cool. um, on my watch, that email campaign went out, and it ended up, something in the system broke, but it basically went out to over 1 million people, which is like $10 million of potential reimburse, like, it being, it's a lot of money. So I, as an account coordinator, wee little Michael here, having a literal meltdown and panic attack. The next morning I wake up and I come in, and I was on the chopping block. Like, it was pretty much like, it wasn't my fault by any means. Um, but I was willing, and at the moment I had accepted. I knew. I walked into my VP's office fully accepting that I'm going to get fired today for something that wasn't even my fault, but our vendor's fault. And but I'm not going to make excuses. And so I did. I went in and I laid it all out, and I had to, present everything. And it happened under my watch, and I took ownership of it, and I apologized. I had a box packed of my desk items, just like, it was like that level of like, I'm going to get fired. And because of my honesty, they went to bat for me with the client. And luckily nothing, it didn't really, the client was pissed, but it ironed itself out. But the company, because of my honesty and me bringing it to them first, and that before they were blown up by the client about it, they were so willing to just be gracious and figure this out with me. But had I lied about it and tried to cover it up and sneak it under and not said anything, and I'm a firm believer that lying by omission is still lying. Like, if you know it and you know you should bring it up, it's better to do that. So in a minute, like, it would be no brainer. Lying, you're out. um Luckily I've not had to fire somebody for that, so that is a blessing. I have recently had to fire, there's been 2 employees so far that I've had to let go, and it was due to work ethic. It was not hitting deadlines consistently, time and time again, trying to work with, and we worked with them on trying to make it work for them, and it just consistently could not hit deadlines. And that's a big one for me. Is experience is big for not only our clients but our internal team. And if you don't hit a deadline, it's impacting our team, which impacts our clients. So I I've had to, there's been 2 instances where I had to let employees go after multiple offenses of just not hitting the deadline, but not correcting themselves
Right.
through the process.
Right. Yeah. Because, like I said, I mean, if you're trying to create a culture of accountability, and mutual respect, well, if you have somebody, like I said, it impacts everybody. Whenever you don't get your stuff done, I mean, that's why so many people in the university settings hate group work. They hate being the one left holding the bag.
Yep.
It's even worse than whenever you're like, you're getting paid for this, like, just freaking get it done.
Listen, and you may remember this, but I fired some people in your when I was in your marketing class. There was, I think it was like level 2. We had to be agencies, and there were people on my team I straight up fired because they weren't pulling their weight. It was like,
Yeah.
you're out. Sorry about it. Like, I don't try to be vicious, but like, I ain't carrying. I'm not paying myself less for you to not work. Like, period.
Right.
Point blank.
Right. I'm not going to do my 90 hours plus another 20 of yours.
100%. Like 100%.
I'm so appreciative that Michael was willing to be transparent about the reality of being a young entrepreneur and the challenges that go along with it. Not many people are willing to work 90 hours a week and be the lowest paid member of the team. Stay tuned for part 3 of our conversation when Michael will talk about the actual marketing work he and his team are doing.